Hey everybody, excuse me, good morning, good morning. It's about 8:30 in the morning here on the 28th of September 2023. I'm here just as usual. It's all business. I'm here to do an analysis on the S&P 500, Bitcoin, and I might take a look at a couple of different stocks here that I've been kind of tracking. I've posted some things up on TradingView for things like Apple and Tesla, and I want to take a look at those. I might also take a look at Nvidia as well because I know a lot of people are interested in those stocks. Before I get into all of this, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research. I'm just giving my opinion on the market, and let's go ahead and move on into the chart. I'm starting here with the S&P 500. So we've been looking at this and watching this for, for quite some time. And not a whole lot is changing, but I do want to talk about where we finally arrived yesterday. We arrived at a point where I believe that there is a high probability that we have completed a cycle, a corrective cycle is what I really mean by that. Really a cycle that started in August. We talk about market cycles quite a bit. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. And this is the SPX 500 USD, which is kind of the equivalent of the ES chart. So, taking a look at this, we started right here at the very end of July, the very beginning of August. We started this correction. And it lasted all the way until about mid-August. Then we saw a cycle that took us to the upside. It was a corrective cycle. We have a nice little ABC there. It's pretty clear what that was. And then when we got up there, again, that was at the beginning of September. And it's basically all of September so far, and there's only a couple days left, we've been seeing this move to the downside. All right, so we talked about this just 2 days ago. And we've been talking about this for prior videos. You can go back and take a look. I don't post a lot of videos. I do that intentionally because I don't like to clutter the channel with a bunch of BS. I want it to be very clear and concise on what it is that we're doing here. And now that we've gotten to where we are, I think it's even more important to pay attention to where we can go next, okay? So looking at this structure, it's very clear that it looks to me like we have completed something. The candle that we saw yesterday, was actually pretty bullish because we had basically a slow bleed throughout the day. Let me go to SPX here for a moment, go down to like a 3-minute chart just to show you what it was that we saw. We saw a slow bleed here. This is where we started right here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more just so we can get some clarity on this. We started up here and we saw a slow bleed throughout the entire day. And as soon as we broke through a important trend line, which would be this guy right here, as soon as we broke through it, it just launched. And what's more important is it looks like, again, to me, it looks like we launched up in 5 waves. So we've got a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a clear 5-wave structure up, okay? And I know the SPX chart doesn't show the overnight session, but what it appears to have happened overnight is we've got a nice little A, and then we had a B, and then we came down here just a little bit lower for a C, right? So we've got 5 waves up, and so far we've got 3 waves down, which means we should be seeing a move to the upside. So let's just take a look at this. And I'm going to go back out to a 2-hour time frame just to focus again on this corrective cycle. We've got move down, move up, and then we've got this finishing move down here. And with this candle being as bullish as it was on the daily, if you go to a daily, it looks even better. I would say that as long as we don't violate this low right here, that's going to be the line in the sand. For SPX 500 USD, it's going to be 42.43. For SPX, that number is going to be, let's just go ahead and move on out here. Just take a look at this. That number is going to be roughly 42.38 or so, somewhere in that vicinity. I do not want to see the S&P 500 return to that area. And the reason why is because we hit the trend line that I've been watching for, the better part of 2 months. Okay, let me zoom out just a little bit more. Just looking at this structure on the 3-hour time frame, which is not a standard time frame, I will admit that. But on the 3-hour time frame, the red wave is pretty much in an area where it really needs to, curl up and move to the upside. And when was the last time that this happened? When was the last time the red wave was in such a position? Let's just go ahead and pull this out here and just take a look. the last few times that the S&P 500 was down in this particular area, right, was right around here, which means it was right around here. And what happened? We saw a significant move to the upside. Okay, I do think that this is going to be a little bit different. But again, going back here, we saw, a nice divergence on this. We got to this low here, and then we saw an even more significant move to the upside. Now, I'm not here to say that we're going to get something like this just quite yet, but what I will say is, really every time that we see this guy get down here to these lows, we start to see a good move to the upside. And that, I think, is not going to be, and again, I'm going to go ahead and outline this guy right here too. We saw another move to the upside. This is not really a coincidence. This is just market structure and market cycles doing their things. Things go into overbought, oversold. That kind of stuff happens all the time. If I go to a daily, what does this look like? Let me just go ahead and pull up all of the, let me just go ahead and reset to the defaults here. All right, so let's just take a look at this on the daily, right? The daily wave. Go ahead and hide all of the others. Just take a look at the daily and see where we're at. Okay, so if we take a look at the daily, that is going to be what that 3-hour red wave was. The 3-hour red wave is the daily wave. And I just want to kind of explain the significance of this. We've got lots of confluence here. We've got the momentum channel indicator. It's not flashing bright green, but we've got a buy signal on both of these guys, right? Back here, it was a buy signal. We saw a move to the upside. Now, back then, it wasn't a lot. It was good for like 4%. But down here, I think we've got the potential where we could see a pretty significant move, probably at least up to 4860 to almost 4900. Now, what would that be? That would be a move to new highs. That would be very, very nice. I would love to see that happen. We're going to have to wait and see. Give it some time. But in the Discord server, and again, if you need access to the Discord server, you can find all of the information on BitDoctor.org to get access to the Discord. I'm actually running a promotion right now where if you use the code TRIAL2023, you can get access for $30 for the first month. So I'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit more when we close out the video, but just to mention that there is a promotion available. And looking at this looks, it looks pretty good for a continuation to the upside. Now, again, line in that sand is going to be right here at 42.43. If we break down and we get down back to those levels from yesterday, if we get back down to these lows from yesterday, things are really going to start looking pretty darn bearish, and I would be very, very cautious. Moving forward, I might actually close out some of my equity positions because the risk right now is to the upside. But if we get below this channel and we start closing below this channel, we get below this 42, 42, 42, 43 area here on SPX 500 USD. If we get below this, it really starts to increase the favorability for a bearish move. So if that were to happen, I just want to talk about that here for a moment. If that were to happen, well, something is going on here that we are not really able to resolve cleanly right now. And cleanly is the key word. As time goes by, things will start to resolve and make a little bit more sense. But for right now, I see no reason for this not to be a 1, 2, 3, 4. This looks like the beginnings of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structure. If it breaks down below that, something else is going on, and we're going to have to dig into that. But this is my primary for right now, which means we're going to get likely a bullish move going into October, maybe November. What happens after that, we'll have to wait and see because we don't have enough information in front of us right now to make a determination on where the market is going to go. But what we can say is based on the facts that we have right now, the risk is to the upside, which means you should be adding risk onto your portfolios at this level. A lot of people are afraid, a lot of people are scared. But from an Elliott wave perspective, this looks pretty darn good to me. So I'm willing to, place those bets down here and, see if we can get that move to the upside. And if we break down below this, really not a huge loss. I still have my hedged positions in being short Apple and Nvidia, which I will explain, when I get to those charts here at the very end, if I've got time to do that. I still need to get ready for the, for the market today. But Looking at this, it looks like we should be looking for calls. We should be looking for movements to the upside, unless we take out that low from yesterday. Those are basically going to be what we're going to be looking for. So now I want to take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, this should not have even been a surprise to you guys. We've been talking about this and talking about this and talking about this little range that we have been in. Okay? This, again, is what I'm expecting Bitcoin to do. All right, so what I said just a couple days ago, and we were right around here at the time, I said, chances are pretty good we're going to see this move to the upside. This yellow line, I have not moved. Just for the record, I haven't changed this at all. I said we're probably going to go up and retest this, and that's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did. Said we were probably going to go up here. We were going to probably get a rejection of some kind and likely see a move to the downside. Now, the bigger question is, are we going to try and bleed back up above this, above this channel? And if we do, well, then chances are pretty good that we're not going to get this corrective move down to about 25.7, 25.8. But that could happen over the weekend because, Bitcoin is a 24/7 market. This move up happened faster than I expected, and the move down happened also equally faster than I expected. So now that we're here and we're starting to see this to get absorbed, if we get back up above this level, if we get back up above the highs from yesterday morning, then chances are pretty good we're going to see that move up into, again, mid-October, going into, a move to maybe 28 to 29,000. After that happens, again, chances are pretty good we're probably going to see a pretty significant move to the downside. And I'm expecting a move down to about 22, maybe even as low as 20,000 to do a retest of 20,000. It's probably going to screw a lot of people that have been accumulating down here. And if you're accumulating down here, that's fine. I've been accumulating down here, but I'm not accumulating leverage positions. The best risk to reward, in my opinion, for a leverage position would be to wait for the price action to get up here into this area, reach this liquidity, and then short for a move to the downside, which is likely going to go into the end of the year. If we continue melting up and we can get above this level here that I've outlined, right at about 30,000 to 32,000, somewhere in this area, again, we're taking this all the way back over here to this liquidity range, right? If we can get above that, well, now we're talking about this move up here to about 37,000. I don't think that happens this year. I think that happens next year. It might even take longer, because we're looking at these time cycles. I've been talking about these time cycles, and I just want to go back out here to the daily and just take a look at this time cycle that I've again, I've talked about this quite a lot. So I'm zoomed out a little bit, so I apologize for all of this this mess here. But again, time cycle, dump, time cycle, dump, time cycle, dump. Now we have an alternation. We have a time cycle and then a move to the upside into an interesting looking wedge. Now this wedge, right, this lasted over the course of, let's just take a look here, 235 days. Not quite a year, but that was a significant amount of time from mid-November to July, okay? And then we've been correcting. And how long have we been correcting? Really, it hasn't been for that long that we've been correcting. We've only been correcting for 79 days. How long do I expect we correct? Well, if it took 235 days, I would expect it to take about half the amount of time. There's 149 days right there. So we're already kind of projecting that sometime in December, we're probably going to create, a bit of a low. And that's what I'm expecting to see happen. I'm interested in buying heavily down here in this area, because what I'm expecting for 2025 is something you guys are not going to be expecting at all. I'm going to talk a little bit about that too, because Bitcoin is a dominant force right now. This is no surprise. Altcoins have been bleeding, right? Altcoins have been bleeding. But again, looking at this, we're likely going to see a little bit of an alt run, but I'm kind of changing my bias a little bit here, that when we do get down here to this area, wherever it lands, and I do still think we're in this type of a scenario where we're going to see this move to the downside, right? Which means alts are going to probably get a little bit of a pop. It's probably again going to happen sometime before the end of the year. Likely we're going to see some relief in altcoins, but when we get down there, I'm actually expecting Bitcoin to take over just a little bit and probably going to get all the way up here to this level. So I'm just saying, y'all need to be prepared for something like this, because this cycle, we're consolidating too long up here, right? We were talking about, support at this low, rejection at this high, support, rejection, support, rejection, support, consolidation, and a breakout. And we've seen a retest of this already. So if we get another push back down here, likely we're going to get a bit of a spring, which is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin and bearish for alts. So we're going to have to wait and see how this shakes out. But I would expect that Bitcoin dominance is probably going to rise significantly. And now all that means is you should be more positioned in Bitcoin than you are in altcoins. Certainly some altcoins are going to perform better than others. Some are going to perform better than Bitcoin, but from a global crypto atmosphere, Bitcoin is going to outperform altcoins. So again, all I'm saying is wait to make those big buys on altcoins until Bitcoin has that significant rise in dominance, because again, what I'm expecting to happen here, let me see if I can get this guy over here, and I'm going to go ahead and remove these drawings. All right, so I want to go to a weekly here on Bitcoin dominance, and I'm going to make sure this is on log scale so that we can see this. Okay, all right, so we've got a significant move here to the downside, significant move to the upside. I'm actually expecting Bitcoin dominance to drop way more than probably what you're expecting. So let's pull this down here. We have a little bit of a rejection, and not at the 618, but a little bit higher than that, right? So let's just go ahead and get roughly what that percentage is. It's not going to be at the 786. It's probably closer to 70% that we saw a retrace. That's basically exactly where it was. All right, so if we get a 70% retracement, we're not going to go to the 236. We're probably going to go a little bit lower than that, but we're going to be looking for Bitcoin dominance to actually go below 35%. Probably it's going to go closer to 30%. So if we do get this move here to go up to this level, which again, if you look left, we've got lots of support and resistance clustering in this particular vicinity. We get up here, well, now let's just take a look at this going into 2025, 2026. We're going to be looking for a significant drop in Bitcoin dominance, an increase in altcoin dominance, and it's going to be significant, and nobody's going to be expecting it. Again, I was really looking for a move maybe down to 30%. I don't think it's going to happen like this fast. I think it's probably going to take a significant period of time, just like this took. It took a little bit of time for this to happen. It went over several weeks. I'm expecting it to look a little bit more like this guy right here, which took about 315 days. It took almost a year for us to start in 2017 and end in 2018, January of 2018. So if we're looking at this here, we're looking at basically from, June to roughly, maybe June or July of the next year. So we're looking for something that would look a little bit like this. Again, 2025 is going to be the year. So there's money to be made right now, but crypto is, it's just one of those things where you have to be very careful on what you do. And a lot of people aren't careful with what they do. They make money on a trade and they roll that money into the next. And then when they lose it all. Don't do that. I diversify. Spread yourself out. On the Discord, we're talking about my bull market picks for basically 2025, which means we're making some calculated decisions a year in advance. But what are the returns going to be if even one of those works out? I'm expecting to have at least half of them work out, and all of them likely are going to be at a higher price than where we're buying them. But we're being patient and we're waiting for that price action to come to us. We're not buying now, we're waiting, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time. It's going to take this guy right here. It's going to take this guy for those altcoins to reach the prices that I want to buy them before we buy them, and then we wait for this to happen. Because this is what we want, this is what we desire, and this is what is going to turn rags into riches, and we're going to be ready for it. We're absolutely going to be ready for it. Okay, so let me go ahead and move on over, and I'm going to pivot a little bit. I'm kind of done talking about crypto for right now. I want to take a look at Apple, okay? I think Apple is one of those things where we have, a target that we've been watching for, and we're close to it. Now, if the S&P 500 is going to pivot up and out of here, well, then Apple needs to basically move up and out of here also. And it's very possible that it does. It's possible that Apple does something a little bit like this and gets back up into this consolidation range. That would help the S&P 500 get back up into that area. And again, if this goes into mid-October, well, this is actually perfect. Because if that happens, what was I saying could potentially happen by end of year? Well, we could easily come back down here into this target and get to that zone where I'm looking for, Apple to close out of my my bearish positions. We could go a little bit lower than this. That's very possible. But just keeping an eye on all of this as time goes by, paying very close attention to the price action, because this falls in line with an S&P rally and then a drop. And I'm talking about a drop not just in the S&P, but I'm talking about a drop in things like Bitcoin and other cryptos and things like that going into the end of the year before we start to see another cycle to move up to new highs. So right now, I do have a very bearish target down here. If we come down here, well, then the bear scenario is on. And we're probably going to come not down here. I'm not ready to say that. We're probably going to come more to this trend line potentially. I'm not ready to say that this is what's going to happen just quite yet, because again, if we take our trend-based fib extension tool, we take this dominant pivot high to this dominant pivot low, and we get this retrace here. Where is the 100% and where is the 618 on this? We're looking at these areas, and that 100 is actually right there. That would actually be perfect for us to get to that area for a little bit of an expanded flat before we start to see a really significant cycle to the upside. So lots of things to look forward to. 2025 looks like the year where things are going to blow off. Okay, we're talking like blow off top. We're not talking about like a continuation rally forevermore. We're talking about that final move where the dollar index is going to hit 120, 130. We're going to have significant debt crisis. We're going to have lots of bad things happening with credit, and really nobody is talking about this in a serious way, and our country is at risk. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end things here. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. If you need access to Discord, BitDoctor.org. I have a promotion that's going through the end of October. Trial 2023 will give you $30 for the first month, which will give you access to everything, including all of the indicators that I've got. All of the trades that I do, all of the day trading that I do, and you'll have access to all of that, including the access to our trading room, where we've got some really intelligent individuals that have actually just recently had some pretty significant breakthroughs in their day trading skills. So kudos to them for putting in the work and coming out on top. So all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. You know where to find me. And wherever you're in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a great evening. Take care, everybody.